Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to This Life, a podcast by Mayorca Media. I am your host, Felix Mayorca. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're here live at the Local Hub Studios, as always, Escondido's premier co-working space. Dude, I freaking nailed that. All right. So today I'm sitting... Wait, do I have anything else to say? Today I'm sitting with two amazing people. They are a beautiful couple. This is Analy and Francis. So, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us. Wait, that was bad. Hello, hi. I'm really nervous, so I'm just going to put it out there. I want everybody to know this is my first podcast. But hi, everybody. My name is Analy.
And I'm Francis.
Francis of BTS Media.
Yep. I'm used to being the one who's hosting the podcast, so this will be different for me.
Where can they find your podcast?
Just type in BTS space TV space media on YouTube, and you'll find the channel.
Sweet. Once again, I want to thank everyone for showing me all the love, all the support. I've got a couple haters out there, but it's all good. You don't have your own podcast, and that's cool.
The haters make you stronger, bro.
The haters make me stronger. They make me cry, but then they make me stronger. Anyway, today we're going to talk about relationships. So last time I had my friend Jessica on here, and she talked about her relationship, but I kind of wanted a perspective of both people. I spoke with Analy, sorry, that was my June Shine, hard kombucha, the midnight painkiller. What are you drinking, Francis?
Was it acai berry?
I said it wrong, but that's okay.
How do you say it?
Acai.
Acai.
Go. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking also Midnight Painkiller.
Sweet. June Shine sponsor us. That's it. Analy spoke to me and said, I want to talk about my relationship with my husband because they're married. Check out the rock on that finger. So before we get into all that fun stuff, I want to... Analy, I met you first.
You did, yes.
How did we meet? Let me see if you remember.
So we actually met at Tanya and Julio's wedding.
Shout out to Tanya and Julio.
Yeah, shout out to Tanya and Julio. Beautiful wedding. I remember you actually, I forget who introduced us. I want to say I was with Sabrina.
Was it Pierce?
And
do you know Pierce?
No.
Oh, Manny.
Yeah, it was Sabrina. I was with Sabrina, Melissa, and Manny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's who I went with. And you guys were all friends. And I didn't know you because you guys all met in Cal State, right? Yeah. So I walked in, we sat down, and you were sitting behind me. And you're like, oh, this is my friend Felix. And so, yeah. And then you asked me. I forget. You asked me a question, and then you were super amazed by it. And I think that's how I became one of your favorite people.
So the way it went is I was sitting behind you, and then I think everyone was kind of talking, and no one introduced me. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I'm Felix. And they were like, oh, what's up? I'm Sabrina, I'm Analy. And then I was like, Sabrina, do you have a boyfriend? Are you married? And she was like, oh, no, I'm not married. And I was like, what about you, Analy? And you were like, yeah, I am married. And I was like, oh, cool. When'd you get married? And you were like, in February, I think, or whenever?
November.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, cool. Who'd you marry? And you were like, my husband. I was like, oh, cool. And then I always like to throw in those curveballs to like feel people's energy. And yours was very much like, what kind of question is that? So that was really funny. But something that actually stuck out to me, and I think it made the most impact on me, was that I was like, what's your favorite? We kind of started, it was like cocktail hour, and yeah. We're getting some like hot dogs or the little weenie things.
Yeah. Whatever.
That doesn't matter. This is why people hate the podcast. And I was like, so what's your favorite part about being married? And she was like, and she like sat there and like thought about it, and she was like, I think just waking up to that person like every single day, that same person, and just like being so in love with them. And I was like, I was like, dude, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Now, let's go back to Tanya and Julio. After like 2-3 weeks, I asked my friend Tanya, "Hey, what do you like being about? What what's it like being married?" And she was like, "I don't know. It's like the same thing, but we just sleep in the same bed." So when someone can actually like talk about their partner and be like so enamored by them, I was just kind of like, whoa. And then, yeah, I think that's what kept the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But Frankie, how'd I meet you?
We had a double date in Little Italy, actually.
Who? Are you sure that was me? I'm just kidding. Yeah, we double dated.
Is that when we ate at Ironside? Is that where we?
Yeah, Ironside. A little bit closer. A little bit closer to the mic.
Yeah.
Closer to the mic.
Oh, closer to the
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go. Beautiful.
Yeah, we had a double date in Little Italy, and you were a jokester right off the bat, and I love those kind of personalities, and we clicked. So.
Yeah, for those of you that don't personally know me, I'm a pretty good guy. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but I think something that really stuck out to me was like, I obviously I shoot weddings, and I see everyone like while just on that day where they're just so like they're so in love on that day. But then afterwards, I'm always like, well, what's it like after? Like I never really know what it's like after. But seeing you guys, I think it's like this is what it's like after when you're happy. What have you been married for a year now, or a little bit less than a year?
Well, we did the court marriage in April of last year. So, yeah, and we've been living together for that long. So over a year as far as living together in the court marriage. Okay. So, yeah, that's safe to say.
In your first year, I've always heard, and every speech at every wedding is like, the first year is going to be your toughest. And then the first year is going to be when you're really tested. So, I mean, my first question for you guys is what has been challenging? What has been fun? And what have you learned your first year of being married?
I'll let ladies go first.
There you go. Okay. Beautiful. See, dude, what a gentleman, dude. Thank you for your service.
Okay, so this is actually it has a lot of depth, you could say, this question, because I feel like since we've moved in, we've gone through a lot. I mean, our first time moving in together, we've never lived together. It was super traditional. My parents didn't let me move out with the guy until I had a ring on my finger, and, so that was different. We bought a house, so I feel like all within the year of us being together, moving in together for the first time and living together, and then going through actually preparing for the wedding day, that was pretty stressful.
Yeah.
Because it's such a big day, and also still being a student, and Francis is in the military, so he had long working hours, and yeah, all of that was a lot of stress, I could say. But throughout all of that chaos, it was still fun and exciting because it was all kind of happening all at once. And that's why I answered the question in that way, because even though it's stressful, like I get so excited to just, wake up to him and go to sleep next to him and all of that. So I don't really think it's that bad being married.
I sure hope it isn't.
I don't think it's that bad. It's really fun, especially when you're doing it with somebody it's easy and also super helpful, and it's like a partnership, it's not just one person or the other. So
what about you?
Can you kind of rephrase that? I want to get more specific.
You want more specific? Let me cut it then. What are some lessons that you've learned? Because I think Analy kind of touched on. That's how obviously you feel, right? It's been fun, and he's like, I guess. So what are some things that you've learned in this first year of marriage, whether it's personally or because the reason I'm asking this is because I'm a very selfish person, and that's probably one of my biggest downfalls in relationships is that I get caught up in what I'm doing, especially because I work for myself, entrepreneur. And I get caught up in like my world, and I'm so worried about
self-starter.
Yeah, self-taught self-starter. Self-taught self-starter. And I get so caught up in what I'm doing that, and in my mind, it's like, well, I'm trying to build a future for myself and someone else. But then I lose sight of that, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm working on the weekends. I'm like, no, I can't hang out because I have to work and all this stuff. So I'm asking you guys, like, what have you learned that you, I guess, personally and as a couple in your first year of like marriage?
Managing expectations is really what it comes down to, because even though you're marrying, and for me, even though we're married and we're joining our lives together, it takes a lot of sacrifice. But you can't lose who you are, because I married Analy for who she was before we got married. I don't want her to just completely lose herself and tend to me, and I'm sure she doesn't want me to lose who I am just to make amends with her. Like, we still got to have our own kind of personality. So I think managing expectations is big, because like, just like you, like, I'm very entrepreneurial in what I want to pursue and what I am pursuing, and she, you know, the expectation is that she gives me the time to do that. So if that expectation wasn't there, then I'm sure there would be some frustrations. But I think the biggest lesson is being selfish. It sounds contradictive, but you have to be selfish to be with somebody else, because how can you take care of somebody else if you can't take care of yourself, is the way I see it. Like, for me, I have my own things that are therapeutic for me, like, you know, different activities that I like to do. And so does she. So you got to feed yourself first before you could feed into the relationship, because if you go into the relationship already losing yourself, then who are you, you know? So that's kind of been my lesson so far. But also, it's not perfect. Like, we bicker, we fight.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's really funny. And I always go, get a divorce. Terrible, dude.
Savage.
I'm just kidding.
And I think as far as that goes, it's like, it doesn't matter, just from my opinion, it doesn't matter who you're going to be with. You're going to argue, but it's how you get through that. And maybe it's not going to be the cleanest, or maybe it's not going to be picture perfect like in the movies, but are you willing to go through that with that person? I think that's what makes a great relationship, is that we've been through so much, being in the military, and all the curveballs we've gotten thrown at us from the beginning of our relationship. It wasn't easy, but sticking it out now, I can't describe my love for her now because of everything we've been through. If you would have asked me beginning, maybe our first year or two in, it would have been a very superficial answer of why I was able to stay with her and be with her for that long, because it was a honeymoon phase. Yeah. But I don't think you really know that you love somebody until you go through all the BS with them and you're able to stick it through. And now I have a connection with her that I can't explain, or that I don't share with anybody else. It's just inexplainable. But you have to go through those tough times. And if you haven't been through those tough times, then I think that the relationship has to go through that in order for you to kind of really understand what that other person is like under pressure.
Well, I'm a piece of shit human. Wow.
I'll take the mic away from you.
That was amazing, dude. So, Analy, I have a question for you. What's it like dating someone? First of all, big shout out to my brother, Carlos. He got deployed. He's in somewhere in the Middle East right now because he has to be quarantined, and then they're going to put him on a boat to also be quarantined, and he's just like sitting there by himself. So, big shout out. That being said, what's it like dating or like marrying someone in the military? Were you ever deployed while you guys were together? What was that like? Like, what did you, let me be more specific. How was it being so far away from someone that you're kind of a part of?
Yeah, it's a good question. So
I know. Just kidding.
So let me go back, like way back, because Francis and I have been together for 8 years now. And we first started dating in high school before he joined the military. So that was different because I know there are people who meet military men or women and they kind of just gonna get thrown into it. So I think what helped us is he joined when we were both in a growing up phase. So it was hard, but the space that was forced onto us as a couple was needed. And I always say this to anybody who asks me, like, how did you guys manage to stay together for so long? Or how do you guys not lose yourselves as a couple? And I think because I was able to focus on myself while he was away and he was able to focus on himself each time, because we've been split up 3 times,
right.
6 months each time. And it was, like I said, it was needed because each of us would come back to one another a better person. And I never once doubted that I was gonna lose love for him or that I chose the wrong person to be with because he was going to change. Because I think the reason why we both started seeing each other and like talking to each other is that we valued a lot of the same things. And so that's kind of always been our foundation. And so, yeah, I wouldn't really say it was that hard. I think about it now because I think about it now and I'm like, no, yeah, it wasn't that bad. But definitely during the time where we were split up, it was tough. And there were a lot of nights where I would cry and I would even be scared because there was one time he went out on the ship and we didn't, or was it Texas? I forget. But he went out one of the deployments and we didn't know if he was going to come back because he didn't know if he was going to be stationed in San Diego again. And I was obviously a student at the time. And so I couldn't go with him and still living at home. And so that was always super
hard,
stressful. Yeah. And hard. But yeah.
How did it affect you, Frankie?
It was tough because I had no support system with me. So, I had to make my own support system while I was out either on deployment or in some sort of training. I had to find my own friends and kind of just distract myself and just get creative with communication. She would send me care packages and I would open this little box and this whole box would be decorated and she put all my favorite little goodies in there and we would Skype or, schedule calls and just stay in communication with each other digitally. But that's what we had to do. And it just took being committed and me telling all my friends when I was on deployment or training, like, yeah, I have a girlfriend, and then kind of telling them about her. And then your military friends would share, their girlfriends or boyfriends, like, experiences with you. And it kind of feels like that you get to know the other person's significant other. So by the time, like, that I introduce my friends to them, it's just like, whoa, that's so cool. Like, but yeah, it takes a lot of creativity and understanding your partner's love language and trying to fulfill that as best you can while you're away from them.
Damn, dude. Yeah. This is some hard-hitting stuff. I was recently telling someone about how we would, in high school, we would drive in my truck and listen to Waka Flocka Flame and just like all the way up. And would like scream out the window and like just do really stupid stuff and like do what's it called, the Chinese fire drill? Oh. Yeah. So if you don't know what that is, it's at a red light. You pretty much get out of the car and switch seats. My mom's listening to this. I mean, nothing. Anyway.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. So yeah, when I was in high school, we would just do some dumb shit and we were like the typical like high school football players, like thinking we're like hot shit and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you guys experience that? Like, because you started dating in high school, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, because I'm always so skeptical when people are like, oh, we're high school sweethearts. And I'm just like, what? That's nasty. what's it like growing up with somebody? And do you actually grow up? Because guys, obviously, we're morons, and girls, not that much. Well, some. And yeah, what's it like growing up with someone, and then, you know what I mean? Just getting out of that like phase of being stupid and trying to mature.
I'll go first this time. So I think that we had to go through the phases during the periods of separation, and also even when I was back home, I was stationed and I wouldn't see her Monday through Friday, and maybe I'd see her once or twice a week. So she still got to live her own life. It was just us having that space and having your friend groups. She would still party, you know, she was in college, and that was cool with me. Like, I understood that. And I would go out and hang out with my military friends, and we would drink or do whatever and just be dumb. So I think we still got to experience that. It's not that experience was completely not there. But as far as like being single and playing around, yeah, we didn't do that. But we were still able to, at least, I don't know, I didn't do that. The truth comes out on the podcast.
On this line.
But yeah, I would say we still had our fun. I think because I joined the military, it forced me to grow up a little bit quicker, and I didn't have the same kind of college or kind of carefree experience that I wish I had, but I still had it, and I still plan to have it when I get out next year. So, mic drop.
Okay. That's him preparing me. He's like, watch out.
I know, you're up. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Francis said a lot of it. So,
if you don't want to answer,
no,
it's fine.
No. I want to answer. I'm just like trying to not sound dumb, you know, when you say and like and
yeah, I
all
do
that
that all
stuff.
the time.
So I'm trying to be, you know, cautious with my words.
Formal.
Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter, dude.
I know.
Because someone's going to be like,
because I'm nervous, and also because there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be like, oh my god, she sounds stupid.
Yeah, she said a lot. She said like a lot. No, hold on. Remember the question. Hold that. For those of you that are like, I would have done this, I would have done that. Do it. Start your own podcast, dude. I've been getting, like, it's not even hate so much. I'd rather get hate than like people say, oh, I thought it was a little flow in the beginning. And then, hey, there's a little 15-second, 30-second button. Push it. If you don't like it, stop listening, dude. Like, I got this one person, and I'm totally getting off track, but I got this one person that was like, I mean, they texted a friend that was on the podcast, and they were like, topics were a little slow. You were on this topic a little too much. Like, they literally went like
nitpicking it,
and it's like, and then at the end he was like, oh, and I hope you're listening, guy. I don't even know who you are, but he was like, speaking of mental health, I'm like targeting people. No, he was like, I've wanted to start my own podcast and just kind of do this and this. Then start it, dude. Like, what are you comparing? And this even goes like in life. Like, what are you comparing someone else's work or someone else to? Like, who are you to be like? And again, I'm going to talk about Joe Rogan. If Joe Rogan was like, yeah, man, maybe change this up, I'd be like, okay, because he knows what he's talking about. Frankie has told me, like, because he's in marketing, and I mean, obviously I do the same thing. And he's like, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And I'm like, oh man, you're right. He's not like, well, this wouldn't work because like he gives other ideas, and like that's dope because he does that.
Yeah.
You don't have a podcast, you don't talk. Anyway.
You gotta contribute. You can't.
Gotta contribute. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you for.
I'm hot, dude.
Yeah, thanks for backing me up there.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So don't come in at Analy. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, take it easy on me, everyone. It's my first one, and then I am nervous.
Exactly.
I was gonna say that Francis said we let each other kind of have that freedom. So I was still dumb, and I went to college, so I went to college parties, and I used fake IDs, and you know what I mean? Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
And I did my fair share of drugs. So, and I think through all of that, Francis never judged me, and I've never really judged him when he like wants to have a night out with his boys, or I never felt like he would do me dirty. So I trusted him when he would go out, and I'm sure he trusts me. So yeah, it was, yeah. And also understanding that we're both young, like we were both young, you know what I mean? So I was 15 and he was 17 when we first started dating, or yeah. So we were young, we were really young. And so we both understood that, and made sure that we gave each other the space that we needed. And I also wanted to add something, and I forgot. It was...
Shoot, I'm sorry.
I know, it's okay. It was...
Doing the distance part?
Creative
with the distance.
It's my fault, dude.
I know.
I got hot.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. If
Yeah.
you think about it, just come back to it.
Growing up together.
Were there ever like temptations?
Yes.
There's always temptation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went to college. You know what I mean?
Some sexy
Definitely.
boys there. Yeah.
There was temptations, but
How do you get past that?
I never, well, one, my dad and my mom both raised me to be a good child.
There you go. Shout out to mom and dad.
People make mistakes, but I always made sure that I never disrespected Francis. So.
What about you, Francis? Obviously, you were in the military and you see all those overseas beauties.
I mean, yeah, same thing. You hear a lot of military guys cheating on their significant others, but I just had to fight that and surround myself. I mean, it's like I really liked her and I didn't want to lose her, so, and I'm not stupid enough to shit where I eat. So like why would I put myself in a situation where I know that I can get caught, because I know what goes around is eventually going to bite me back in the ass. So I didn't, it wasn't worth it.
Snaps.
But yeah, temptations are always there, but it's just now that we're together, it's like seeing all the fruits of that, like come like start to produce, and it's worth it. Like we're still, I would still consider this like our first year in marriage. Like I'd say the first 2 years like is rough. First 3 years. Yeah, because it's just things happening back to back to back, and it just feels like you don't get a break. And it's not necessarily with us, it's just like with family too. Yeah, we're still developing, getting our careers on track, and it's just a lot going on. I mean, not to get too off track with that, but there's also temptations of like, you know, going all in my career and losing my face and grinding and sweating that off. But then there's
me. Yeah, I feel you, dude.
And sometimes I want to do that, but because I'm married, you know, I have to be respectful of giving my time to the wife she deserves and the time that she needs, and communicating that. So what we do is we have a shared calendar, and we put things on that calendar, and we check that calendar before we start scheduling other things as well.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage time? But Analy, no, it's all good.
Yeah, I remember.
Analy remembered what she was going to say
I
before.
feel like this is probably so off topic now because we've moved
It's
on
fine.
from the
It doesn't
question.
matter.
But I did want to say that you asked about, because he mentioned the military. He felt like he had to grow up pretty quickly in the military. I also, dating an older man, felt growing up that I had to grow up quicker than usual. So yeah, and I think both of us have felt that way our entire relationship. And it's not a bad thing. I don't see it as a bad thing. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel like I lost a part of my life that everybody's like, oh yeah, have fun in your 20s and like do you.
Yeah,
and
that's what I've heard.
Yeah, and I just feel like that's so cliche to say, because one, everybody goes through their own journey. That's cliche to say, but
yeah.
everybody do you. Like if you want to get married young, and if you don't, you don't. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say. So
so did you want to add something or chilling? Okay. Analy actually pitched me. She didn't have to, but she pitched me just like my friend Jessica did. If you haven't heard that episode, find it. I think it's episode 7 or something. Anyway, you wanted to talk about love languages, right?
yeah.
So we talked about love languages last time, and it was a little like, I don't know if convoluted is the word, but I've heard that word being used sometimes like this, and I want to sound smart. So it was a little convoluted. damn it. It was lost in translation. Let's say that. Because Jessica and I didn't really know. I had done it one time with someone that I was kind of dating, and I didn't know too much about it, and she was just kind of like, oh, I don't really remember it, but do you like know all the love languages and all that crap?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what are kind of explain love languages, and just explain love languages right now.
Okay, so like I think your friend Jessica mentioned all of them, but I'll say it again. There is quality time, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and words of affirmation. So
Right.
those are the 5.
What are yours?
Mine are, I haven't done it in a really long time, but I don't think they change. They do change, and like I think people forget about that.
Yeah.
Because we've taken the test, I think, a couple times, and they've always been different. Quality time is always one of our top ones, both of ours, and I would say acts of service, but I feel like also physical touch, so it's just kind of, it changes. But because I think people just take the test and they read about it and then they kind of like blow it off.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. So I actually read the book, and I also read the military edition book. So
damn,
yeah.
Dude. You're in this deep, huh?
Well,
That's
just
sick.
because when he was out and deployed,
Yeah.
there are different, because I read it so long ago, so I don't really remember it off the top of my head, but there were just different things to do that the book said, like both of the books. So like words of affirmation, it's kind of hard to do that when you guys are distant from each other. So
Right.
like emailing one another and writing out a nice email for him to read, that's still words of affirmation. So doing stuff like that. So yeah.
What about you, Frankie? What are your love languages?
It's changed a few times. I have my own thoughts about that. I'll share them.
Share 'em,
I
dude.
think
That's what we're here about. Yeah.
so.
You're like,
I
oh,
don't
you
know.
do? Oh my god, I read
think-
2 books. So
I think the book is. I think that concept is genius, but one thing that I wasn't a fan of is that you only have 1 or 2 top love languages, and it kind of felt like the book was saying you have to speak those 1 or 2 top love languages to your partners at all times.
that's where it turns me off.
But I disagree with that, because one day I could be feeling acts of service, the next day I could be feeling words of affirmation, and I could care less about acts of service. Like, I feel like that. But I will agree that I'm like, when it comes to gifts, a lot of the time I don't really care about it, but then there are times where Analy will like make something nice for me, or like surprise me with something. I'm like, oh wow, that was like, she really put her time and effort into that, and I care about that more than the gift itself. So it's kind of like a combination of acts of service and that. I mean, I'm not trying to get too deep, but I don't feel like it's black or white, like I am this one or
Right.
I am these 2.
Yeah.
I feel like it changes, but I do notice that I appreciate a lot of acts of service. Words of affirmation was a big one for me a lot before. Maybe it's kind of not as much now, but and like she's saying, when we're in the, when we're in deployed, or when we're away from each other, we have to get creative with how we do things. I mean, there's so many different things, like yeah, sending each other special pictures to keep the
Oh, no.
I mean, I would send her pictures, she would send me. Like when we have phone service, that's when we had to do it.
Right.
But even like, honestly, like y'all say,
Dad, please don't watch
y'all would say like, well, she, instead of doing it digitally, actually, she would physically.
It's getting hot.
A Polaroid.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hell yeah.
She would physically send the pictures and spray with
beautiful.
perfume and
That's
do all
beautiful.
this stuff. And I would open that and I would be so excited, because it's just like, whoa, like all my stimulation on the ship is just so boring and monotonous the day to day, every day. Literally, we wake up and the first thing we do for the first 20 minutes of the day is we're sweeping and we're mopping, and we just did that the day before. So it's like, there's nothing to sweep and mop.
Right.
But for those 20 minutes every day, you have to sweep and mop. The day just gets so monotonous. So even just like getting those care packages were the hugest. Mail time was huge. So if you have a spouse or a friend that is deployed right now, please send them anything. They will get that, and they feel so alone, and they're going to open it, and it's going to be the coolest thing. Even if you just send them a damn magazine of their favorite thing. Like, if they love surfing, send them a surfing magazine. They'll appreciate that, trust me. And they'll remember that you sent them that, and that somebody else that they thought was more important to them didn't send them something. But when I would open her emails, it was literally like the highlight of my day. And sometimes 2 or 3 days would pass by and there'd be no emails. But then when these emails come in, it would just be like, makes it that much more special. So yeah, it's just everything's intensified when you're in that kind of, when you have that space away from each other, because when you're together all the time, all day, every day, or most of the time, then it's just kind of like eating the same Chick-fil-A sandwich every day, you know?
You're going through the motions.
Yeah, you're kind of going through the motions, so we got to spice things up, and that's what, you know, so that kind of comes back to where we're at now, and we're kind of at a point where we're grinding our face off a lot, to prepare for our next moves.
Oh, like work-wise, grinding your face off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we get caught up in that a lot, and she's very good at, you know, reminding me of, you know, hey babe, let's have a date night, or I mean, and it honestly, one of the things we like to do is we love our underbelly, our ramen spot, but the
underbelly in 100-degree weather.
Yeah. So good.
But,
just sweating like I am right now. It's so beautiful.
But I mean, and things develop, and with the love languages, I wouldn't invest your whole relationship into that, but I think it's definitely a must read, and it's something to consider.
Love has no temperature.
Yeah.
Did you want to add more?
I was going to add, I wanted to say that I think for us too, when we take these tests or we read these surveys and articles, we are like, oh yeah, like this is my love language, or oh yeah, this is how I feel. And Francis and I were just talking about, like, yes, you have to be selfish, but also sacrifice in a relationship. So sometimes there will be days where I feel kind of crappy and I don't feel like loving him and I don't want to do things for him, but I remind myself that that's not that's not what it's about. Like, I want to, like, if I'm really tired from a day of work and he's also tired and he's like, dang, I'm really hungry, I was like, okay, well, I'll make you dinner. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to make dinner. I'm tired, but so is he. And I know that if I was to cook him something nice, he would, you know, feel good about it. And so doing stuff like that, like remembering that we have to love the other person and the way that they want to be loved, even when we don't feel like doing it. So
yeah, I want to piggyback, dolphin tail off of that one a little bit more.
Dolphin tail.
No, and I like what you're saying about, like, you know, doing these quizzes or reading these books, and there's a lot of good resources out there, and I love reading. So I read a lot. I read a lot. But I think it's with anything, like, you can get lost, and, you know, please listen to this podcast, please read your books, please take those quizzes, but, like, there's no secret to it. You're just gonna have to learn as you go. It's just like anything. Like, how do you get better at doing something? You just do it. And I think that's the same thing with a relationship. But, you know, have your group of people that you look up to, and we have a few couples that, you know, we look up to, and we ask them questions. And I think it's better than reading a book is when you have somebody that you have access to ask them questions.
Surrounding ourselves with people that also share the same values and like the same things that we do has also been super helpful, making sure that we're not with crappy people.
Yeah, that's what I've said before on this podcast, is surround yourself around, I guess, people who elevate you, not bring you down. Mm-hmm. And whether you're a couple or you're just a single person, that's definitely, groups of friends can definitely affect you. I heard this one, Parker Walbeck. I heard he said, he's some video dude, but he said if you hang out with 5 billionaires, you'll be the 6th billionaire. If you hang out with 5 idiots, you're gonna be the 6th idiot. If you hang out with 5 losers, you're gonna be the 6th loser, because that's that mentality and I mean, and language is so infectious. It's like if you hang out with people that are like, well, I hate my life and nothing's going right, it's like you're gonna feel the same way, like, oh, right. You know what, you're right, my life sucks too. But if you hang out with people that are like, oh, I'm, you know, it's hard right now, but it's gonna get better. Or if you talk to them like, hey, this is really hard right now, and then they gas you up and they're like, you know what, it's gonna get better because for me it happened, and da da da, and we're elevating ourselves. Something I wanted to ask you guys, Analy, I spoke to you about this like a long time ago. I have my dark times. I have my times where I can't get out of bed. Honestly, this weekend, I'm going to be super transparent. This weekend, I felt extremely overwhelmed. I'm definitely overworking myself. And that's one of my biggest downfalls is, like you were saying, I grind my face off by myself, not with anyone else. I grind my face off and I'm just like, I have to take every single job that I can because da, 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 you know, and then I find myself like, kind of like I'm carrying just a stack of books and I'm balancing them, and then those books fall down and I'm like, wow, I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to do anything. Have you guys ever been hit with that, just that dark time where you just want to sit in bed, and how do you cope with that yourself? Because like I said, everything's infectious. Your vibe is very infectious. How do you kind of go about that with your partner? How do you make sure you're being selfish and kind of not falling into that, but also being supportive with your partner? That was a good one.
Wow, that's a deep question. So, I mean, we've been there a lot before, I feel like, than where we are now. I feel like maybe we are going through it. I still have my moments because I get extremely exhausted with my Navy work, and it takes away so much energy from me. By the time I get home, I have other things to do. I sometimes just don't have the energy to do it because of, especially where work is at right now, with being in Navy medicine in the middle of this pandemic. It's extremely taxing. That's a whole nother podcast of conversation to talk about. But we've been through it. I think deployment, you've had your fair share of going through some stuff with your family. I think this is a question that you could definitely talk upon. But for me, I would say how to deal with that or how to manage that is, first is understanding that for a dude, it's tough because I want to problem solve. Like, I love solving problems.
Yes.
And I have to understand that if she's going through something, sometimes it's so deep I can't solve that problem. I just have to be there for her, and I have to listen to her, and I have to understand. It's easier said than done, but I have to just understand that she's going through something, and sometimes I just have to be an ear to listen. And I don't have to say anything, but be there to emotionally support her. And I think it's the same thing for girls to guys. Like, if I'm going through something, it's the same thing. But I think maybe if she wants to share some personal experiences, she could have something that's a little bit more relatable to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of going off topic, but I definitely have had my very dark moments in life. More in college, it was when I was living on my own. I still remember, in December of, I believe, when did you go to Texas? 2017, 2018. I went through like a phase of depression, and he had just left for a training for 6 months.
Oh, God.
Super last minute. It was very kind of like all was kind of happening all at once.
Shit show.
Yeah. And at the same time, I had gotten fired from my job. And I found out that my dad had cancer, like all at once.
Oh my
yeah. So,
God,
and like
dude.
I like failed classes, and it was just like really dark. Yeah. And I just remember being so sad, and like the only person that would understand me to make me feel better was Francis, and I didn't have him at the time. So I really kind of put on my big girl pants. And it sucks because I wish that I had a more relatable story, because I know that it's not easy to get out, like be able to like kind of have that self-motivation when you're feeling in such a dark time. But I really just kind of reminded myself that I am the only person that's stopping myself from being better or from getting myself out of that. So I remember just like telling myself like, okay, I have to I have to pick myself up. Like, nobody's going to do it for me. My dad can't, you know what I mean? Like, Francis isn't here. Like, I don't have friends that can do that for me. And not that I'm like, oh, boohoo, like I didn't have the friends for it, but like I was away from my family, you know, like I really learned how to kind of pick myself up all by myself, which I'm thankful for now, but at the time was really hard. And the reason I'm sharing that is because now that Francis and I are living together and we get in those not as dark times, but we still have like our phases where we feel really crappy, I try to kind of let him have his space and let him kind of figure it out, because like he said, it's not something that I can fix for him. So I try to just kind of like let him have his space, and I remind him, hey, like, you're a good person. You have people that love you, and you have me. So if you ever need anything, like, please let me know. What can I do to help? So doing stuff like that and like giving him that love and support that he needs, but kind of from far away, just because I don't want to
like overstep.
Right. And he kind of does the same for me. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
Oh, big time. I mean, yeah. And I think I kind of saw you, I don't know if this was just me, but you were kind of, it's weird when you talk about those times, and Frankie, I'm going to get to what you want to say, but it's weird when you talk about those times because you almost get, it's almost like you start getting those flashbacks and you start feeling just kind of like when you were talking about it, like my chest just kind of tightened up.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's like to kind of have one thing happen and then another thing happen.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, that metaphor that I used, just like the books start stacking up and you have to like balance them out and stuff. But it's we ourselves think that it's like a boohoo story. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have is we don't think I always thought, well, people have it worse than I do. Like your dad had cancer.
Oh yeah.
Like listening to that, I'm just like, why am I being a bitch? So, I mean, people listening out there, like, don't think your problems are menial. Like if it affects you, it affects you. But Frankie, if you want to piggyback off of what your wife said, or dolphin tail.
I'll dolphin butthole off that one.
Okay.
No, but I think now that we have each other and that we are together, I wouldn't say we have a dark time, because we are together with our significant other, and I think that those times really produced is when we were away from each other. Like she said, I was away from her, but now that we are together, it's like even if you go through a tough time, it's like you always have that other person there. So if I forget to clean up around the house, I could, I'm sure she'll recognize that and she'll clean up around the house, vice versa. If she's feeling sick and she can't get out of bed, then, that's my job too. So I think there's kind of that yin-yang effect too, where when you're with your significant other and you're living together with them, and I think it changes when you're married because you put a public commitment to that, for sickness and in health, for better, for worse, that is a duty that we have to fulfill. And I feel like we live up to that every day, that, one of us goes through something. And since we have each other, I think it's a lot easier to get through those tougher times and get out of them quicker.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go for it.
Because you mentioned how, like, we tend to have this, like, boohoo story. Like, we think that, somebody else has it worse than I do.
Right.
I wanted to add that I mean, at least I tried to, and so does Francis, but I definitely let myself soak in that sadness first.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you need it.
So, and if I'm feeling crappy, like Francis will be like, okay, like that's fine. Like, don't, like, he doesn't say, well, why do you feel crappy? Like, or
that's the worst thing you can do.
Or like, it's not a big deal. And like, I did that. It's so funny that I say that because I did that yesterday. He like got upset at me for something and I said, it's not a big deal. Like, I can go, like, you know, I can fix it.
Yeah.
And right when I said it, I just remember thinking like, oh shit, like I shouldn't have said that.
Language, man.
Because it's, and he got even more upset because like, well, why won't you let me just like be upset about it? And so I think that's another thing is like when we have our moments is that we remember that we let ourselves have those moments because it's normal and we're human and we're gonna get upset and we're gonna feel shitty and it's not okay for us to try to like always, like Francis said, like be like a problem fixer if that's the right word, but I don't know. I feel like I had more to say and I feel like I'm talking horrible right now. I'm so sorry. I know. But yeah, I wanted to just say like communication is huge. Like if I'm feeling shitty, I'll tell Francis I just don't want to talk to you, and he'll like let me be, and vice versa for him. So
I think that's big on both of you because, and that goes back to you, Frankie, saying that you have to sometimes be selfish, and Analy, you have to be selfish enough to say, I don't feel my best. Yeah. And I think even if you're not in a relationship, I think you should tell your friends like, oh, you're having a party today, but I just don't feel like being around people. Yeah. And I can't get out of this funk. I need to sit in this funk for a little bit. And that's what I do when I'm like overwhelmed. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to sit in it and kind of be sad for a day. And then I know it's going to get better.
But there's a balance too.
Yeah, there's a big balance where sometimes you have to like look at yourself and be like, you know what? I have to get up. I have to get out there. Like it's going to make me feel better. And again, this goes back to the relationships that you have like in your circle. Like maybe you don't want to talk to Francis one day, but you want to talk to someone else.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to talk to anyone else, just Francis. You definitely have to do some like inner work and find that balance.
And we don't get upset at one another. If Francis doesn't want to talk to me, I don't go like, well, what the heck, babe? Like, why don't you want to talk to me? I'm your wife. You know what I mean? Like, it's not
Go talk to your other bitch.
Yeah, go talk to your Sancha. Yeah, I don't.
Go talk to your Sancha.
Yeah.
He's
so,
like, all right.
Yeah, having that communication, but also being really understanding. And if you mess up, like when I said it's not a big deal, also saying I'm sorry was huge. Like I said, you know what? Like, I'm sorry. I like went to go get him food and I was like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry. I did not mean to say that. I'm sorry that I made you feel shitty about it. Like, I was wrong. So, really kind of just like bringing, what's the word when you, help me out here.
Self-realization?
No, when you surrender to your partner. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people make the mistake of wanting to always be right or
fix everything.
Right.
That's hard.
Yeah.
You want to add anything or chilling? I've actually been called out for this. I think maybe by you. No, I don't know. But
maybe.
I talk about exes a lot. I believe that like exes have, I guess after it's over, you kind of have to think like, oh, what did I learn from that? Was it good or was it bad? Bad. And dude, my voice keeps cracking. It's so annoying. And I kind of bring up whenever like a topic like this comes up, I talk about exes. And I remember one time, and I don't know if this was my pride or what it was, but I remember her saying like, oh, I've had my doubts. You know, I've had doubts when we first started, I had doubts. And I remember that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, what? Like, I haven't. Like, what the heck? Like, yeah, it's been hard, but I never think like, do I really want to be in this? Because as soon as I think that, I think I don't want to be in this because I'm thinking that way. Have you guys ever had that moment of like doubt of just like, I don't really I don't know about this. You're like unsure and kind of you think you want to go separate ways.
Oh man, he's trying to tear us apart. No, I think obviously at this point not anymore. Maybe at the beginning of the relationship when we first started talking, because we have a very interesting story. But that's
We got time.
nah.
Do
We got time.
Nah.
We're at 57 minutes. We got like 20 minutes. We're good. Go for it.
It's up. I mean, it's up to you.
You could talk about it. You could watch you could link
We have a
to
YouTube.
our relationship vlog, and you guys could listen to that.
You guys got a
story.
relationship vlog?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'll put that in the
It's
show notes.
old.
Tried, yeah,
It's
we
old.
tried. It's
But
not
she did well. She did well with it. I mean, I'm sure we'll pick it back up once things start slowing down a little bit. But she did well with it.
I'll link it.
Yeah.
I'll look into the show notes.
to the story
Yeah.
somewhere up there. But
I don't do that, but yeah.
whatever.
Anyway, doubts.
I think earlier in the relationship, but as the relationship went by, those doubts kind of faded away, because after, like I said earlier, going through those tougher times, you kind of grow through that and grow together. So not anymore, but early in the relationship, it was kind of like, oh man, like I'm still young. Like I could do whatever I want. Do I really want to do this? But now that as time has gone by and we've proven ourselves to each other, I think we've earned that trust to not doubt each other anymore.
I
drop.
have a different story. No, just kidding.
I know. No.
No, that's not it. No. But I mean, yeah, like, I don't know. I'm surprised you didn't talk about this story because I feel like it affected you so much.
Well, that's your story to tell, not mine. That's your business.
T.
Oh boy. Are we gonna keep the listeners hungry for this? Or
Oh yeah, no, I'll tell it. So
Yes.
when
Cheese me.
Francis went to training, right?
Yeah,
You came
Texas
back. Yeah, you came back, and we didn't know if he was gonna come back. This is when we didn't know, and I remember already being mentally prepared to break up. And I was just like, yeah, like, I mean, I'm going to miss him. Like, I'm going to be sad, but like, I'm strong and like, I can do it. And then he told me that he was going to come back, and I was super excited. And my, like, pendeja yo, I went and I was like, oh, babe, I feel like I need to talk to you about something. Like, I was like mentally prepared to like not be with you anymore.
I'm on the edge of my seat right now, huh? Continue.
And we were in Oceanside. We were like sitting on the bridge, like super romantic. But I like swerved and I hit him with the, oh, like, have you ever thought about seeing other people? And it was just so bad because I just remember that was not what I wanted. But because I was so insecure with like the military tearing us apart, like how easily it was, that I was already in a state where I was thinking, okay, I have to be able to be without Francis and be okay. So I asked him that question because I was curious. I mean, we were curious. We were already dating. We were 5 years in, sorry. And we weren't with, we didn't have anybody else in our lives. Like, yeah, I have an ex and he has exes, whatever, but it was nothing compared to like what our relationship was now. And so, yeah, and I just remember like Francis being super bummed out and was like, what the heck? Why would you even say that? Like, I've never considered other people. Yeah, it was super shitty. But I totally regret. And I just remember like that same night, I was just like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean that. Like, he's like, no, I can't trust you and blah, blah, blah.
I was kind of hoping that you cheated or something, but
no.
You know.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't, I guess it wasn't that
so
juicy.
messed up,
I'm a faithful man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And he was just like, yeah, he was like, now, like, like, it was college and I was with, college friends and doing college things. So,
that's a kick in the gut though.
yeah, it definitely put a dent in that part of our relationship.
Yeah. So you felt like what I felt, where it was like, she pretty much is saying like, I mean, I'm having doubts because of your line of work, right?
Yeah.
Damn. How did that feel?
That was tough. Yeah, that was tough. I didn't see it coming. And even if she did feel that way, it's like, oh yeah, there was a part of me that understood, like, being in the military puts a lot of emotional stress not on me but on her too. But at the same time, it's like I worked my ass off in that training to get number 1 in my class, and then I come back. Yeah. And then to hear that was kind of like, dude, rough. I literally came, like, I could have got stationed in Italy, I could have got stationed in Japan, but I chose to go back to San Diego. And then for you to tell me that, it's just like, why would you say that when I'm here, I'm home? And maybe if you were thinking about that before, like, I understood that now, but like, why are you still thinking about it? So
yeah, but I think
maybe she told me, she's like, I wasn't trying to communicate it that way. I was trying to say is like, as if before. But I was seeing it as in the moment of like, are we still or would you try to see somebody else right now? And I was like, no, I'm home. Like, I came back for you. I'm not trying to waste all this effort and energy to come back home to you to see somebody else.
Yeah. So Analy, you kind of were thinking like, have you thought in the past of being with? Okay, that's really not that bad.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. But in the moment,
it's the way you. Yeah,
is the way she presented it.
So bad. It was
yeah,
so bad.
It was a total miscommunication.
Which comes back to language, words. Yeah. They are, yes, they're powerful.
I will say though, just because we're kind of talking more present. Whenever we get into like big fights, not that we get into big fights, but I'm like, what if he wants to divorce me? Like, what if so if I have those doubts every now and then.
I just consult with Felix and ask him what I should do. Should I divorce her?
And I say, get a divorce. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's terrible. Yeah. Analy, you had a little list of things that you wanted to bring here. Do you remember what?
Let me pull them up. Let me see.
What those are. While she pulls that up, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back in a second. Thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. So Analy pulled up these kind of topics. Whenever I have a guest or guests, oh, my light just turned off. Whenever I have guests who kind of have ideas that they want to bring on, I allow them to, and usually they write them down. So go for it.
Yeah, I didn't write them down. This was my pitch.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna read you my pitch.
Let's read the pitch.
We talked about these already. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I said, Francis and I can talk about marriage, sex, and the importance of maintaining intimacy within a long-term relationship.
Stop.
I'm so sorry, Mom and Dad.
Stop. Okay. I don't necessarily want to talk about like doing the dirty, but I want to talk about, now that you refreshed that, and that's what people want to hear. Hold on. Okay. I want to make sure it syncs up. I want to talk about, and you always hear about like, oh, you know, the passion just wasn't there after people get like divorced. Mm-hmm. How do you, I guess, keep that? Because, and we talked about this before, sex is actually a big thing in a relationship. Huge. It's important to be emotionally compatible, sexually compatible, all that stuff. Compatibility has a lot of layers to it. It's like that onion. How do you guys keep it spicy? Or passionate, whatever you want to say. Oh, Francis.
I mean, obviously, anybody can tell you, to change up your positions, your stroke patterns, your rhythms, your intensity, this and that. But
your stroke patterns.
I mean, yeah, go watch a sex channel or something if you want to get all that stuff. But I think like just taking time away from sex and coming back to it in itself simply is enough. Like, if we're so busy, we're caught up in the grind. It's been a few days that has passed by, and then we do it. It's kind of like that Chick-fil-A sandwich I told you about before. Now, if you're doing it every day and you want to change it up, you're an adult. If you're old enough to have sex, figure out how to spice it up yourself. Use your own toys or whatever you want to provide for yourself that makes it cool for you. But I mean, yeah, they have different Yeah, you could do your research as far as that. In my opinion, if Analy has anything to top on that, I'm sure she will say something.
That's such a guy answer.
Yeah,
dude.
it's super guy answer.
Stranger strokes, dude. That's good though.
I was
It's good
gonna
women
say
perspective.
because Rand said, like kind of giving yourself that distance from it,
Right.
which works. Yeah, like
Even
that.
when we had our first time doing it after deployment, like
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but now that we're married and we're living together,
Right.
my answer would be having or being intimate, because I feel like having sex is just like everybody gets all like
Yeah.
So
Sex.
we're gonna say being intimate
Because
and-
there's so many different forms of it.
right
fuck.
babe.
I'm glad you don't have a mic.
Remaining intimate during a long-term relationship is important because I feel like that's how you stay connected. Like, yeah, go have a date at the beach or, do that quality time stuff and like give each other's love languages. But there are times when Francis wants to have sex and I don't, but I still have sex with him because that's what he wants, and vice versa. You know what I mean? But it really is like that's the truth. Like you
Right.
have to be able to, like I hear women, and I've even heard men. They're like, oh yeah, like I don't want to, or I'm just like not in the mood, and I totally get that. Like I totally get when you're not in the mood, like you're tired and
Got
you're
a
just
headache.
yeah, you just like you're just not in it.
Cheating. Yeah. You have a headache and you're actually cheating. At my ex. I'm just kidding. I've never. Well.
I'm moving on.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, doing so, just kind of like sucking it up, not pun intended.
Oh.
Just like sucking it up, be like, yeah, like let's
My
do it.
gosh.
Like if that's what you want,
Best
like
episode.
I know, I'm so sorry.
This is awesome. Hell yeah.
Everyone, this is why she was watching what she
going
was
on.
gonna say.
Oh my god,
because
I'm
very
literally like
inappropriate.
red.
Very inappropriate. I am uncomfortable. But go ahead, keep
That's
going.
just not how I meant it. Please don't put this on the
So
podcast.
Analy said, "Suck it up."
Yeah, like
Get a straw.
Keep going.
Woo.
Keep going.
Take one for the team.
I
What team?
feel like this conversation needs to.
So hold on. Let me reel
Yeah,
it back
let's-
real quick.
let's
Let me
do this
reel it
again.
back. Yeah, let me reel it back. I said that way too many times. And you're saying just kind of because I'm thinking back at Jessica, who was like, sometimes I don't want to have sex, and I can say, I don't want to have sex, and boom, that's it. Not that I'm comparing you guys. Obviously, everyone's different. But when you say, I mean, I'll just do it for him, is
It's like the opposite. It's like I want to have sex.
yeah. So like, if
she's
he
saying,
wants,
I don't want to have sex, but the other one's saying I want to have sex. So then you give it up for that other person. So it can't always be I don't want to have sex. So what I say
Mike.
goes.
Oh, let Felix ask this question.
Well, it's coming if I had Mike too.
So okay, I'm so lost now. So giving it up. What do you mean by that?
I guess I didn't really mean like giving it up because I've like meant it. I don't.
You believe in consent. Let's
Yeah.
put that out
Okay.
there.
Please don't say that I'm like we rape each other because we don't.
That's not funny.
Unless you want.
Anyway, well, she is your property because she's your wife. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Please don't cancel me. And if you do, then that's totally fine. Just do it early on in my career so I can bounce back later. Do you want to move on?
No, I really want to talk about this topic because it's important and I actually care about this topic. What I wanted to say was, Francis, like, I totally don't even want to talk about this anymore.
Talk about that podcast they listen to now.
No, I do want to touch on that because I do remember Jess saying, her saying what you said. She was like, "Oh, if I say I don't want to have sex, then like that's it. I don't."
She
want to
says she feels empowered by saying, "Oh, you know what? Sometimes I don't want to have sex, or sometimes I do want to have sex."
Right, which is cool. Yeah, which is totally cool. I guess the way that I meant it was, for me, I just rather please my partner. yeah, it's like, you know, I have times where I'm just like, no, I don't want to. And there are times where I say, no, I don't want to. And, you know, we don't do it.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But if that's what Francis wants and he, you know, it's what's going to make him feel better, or he's having a really crappy day and he just needs, you know, sex, then it's like,
love,
yeah, he needs some love. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, like, let me please you. You know what I mean? Just because it's like, that's what like the intimacy in a marriage, like that's what it should consist of. Like, you guys are partners. You guys are married. Or if you're not married, you're just in a relationship. You guys are committed to each other. Like, that's also part of the relationship.
Okay.
I think this is too much for Felix.
Dude, I'm so mature.
Felix is nervous.
I'm a little
No,
nervous.
but she's right. It can't be always what that one person says. If that one person doesn't want to do it or does want to do it, it's at the command of that one person.
Right.
I think what Analy, or my take of what Analy's saying is like, you know, if that one person doesn't want to do it, it's like, how many times is that one person not going to want to do it that the other person is not going to get it? So when is that other person going to do the other person? When is the one who doesn't want it gonna give it up for the person who does want it?
Okay, can I try to clarify now?
Yes.
So it's
Okay.
like, okay.
So what I think you guys are saying is that, okay, first of all, before anyone gets all offended, consent is very important.
Yes.
Now, I think what Analy and Frankie are trying to say is sometimes you have to get out of that in order, because you want to please that other person. Because if you keep saying no, 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 then that is kind of repetitive, and then the other person doesn't ask for it. And then let's say Analy keeps saying no, 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 like then you start losing that intimacy, that sexual intimacy. So then Frankie is like, all right, well, I'm not going to ask for it anymore because you're always saying no. So then, no, thank you. So then if Analy one day is like, well, let's do it, then Frankie is like, oh, now you want to do it?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
That then builds, I've actually been in a situation like this, but then that builds resentment where you're just kind of like, or let's say Analy shows up drunk one day and is like, yeah, let's freaking do it. Then Frankie's like, oh, so you're drunk and now you want to do it? Then that puts other kind of like, that kind of strains the relationship in that intimacy portion, I think is the word.
Yeah.
Because you have so many times saying no, 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 no. And that's the importance of intimacy and saying yes, and sometimes just going with the flow.
Now it's a
Right?
podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna add. It's almost as if like I'm building, or we build that trust with each other in the intimacy portion of
Right.
it, where I trust that Francis is going to want to take care of me, and he trusts that I'm going to take care of him. So.
Yeah. Nailed it. Okay. Did you have anything? That really went off the rails, huh?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't want to keep repeating ourselves here.
No, yeah. I think, yeah, it's kind of hard to be in the situation and then talk about it without like offending people.
Right.
Because people are always going to twist things and be like,
Oh, yeah.
well, Frankie forces himself on her, or opposite, which I can see Analy forcing himself, but that's a different discussion. Yeah. And it kind of sucks that we have to like really
Clarify.
like, wait. You know what I mean? Stop getting so offended. Next.
Yeah, our society is kind of sensitive, but let's not talk about that.
Anyway.
I wanted to talk about resolving conflict in a healthy way.
Ooh.
Because I think that's super important too. Like knowing each other's argument styles. Just how there are love languages, there are also argument styles.
How do you guys
So-
argue?
We hit each other and just kidding.
It's very violent. There's a lot of blood.
Not each other, she's just me. Don't put that on
Frankie's calling out for help.
Babe.
So let me phrase this in a
okay,
way.
she's putting the pressure on me.
Yeah.
Oh, I can answer.
Because we've all heard pick your battles.
Oh, yeah.
Is that really a healthy way, in your opinion, to do things? Is to pick your battles? Or because I've been in situations where I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick my battles, but I don't want to fight. So then everything kind of I have this like backlog of like, okay, I didn't pick this battle. I didn't pick this battle. I didn't pick this battle. And then it kind of, same thing with the books, man. With the books, you're kind of, those arguments stack up and you're just like, oh, I didn't pick this one, but I'm going to pick this one. And I'm going to bring up all this stuff that you did. Like, you know what I mean? So in your opinion, does picking your battles actually work, or how do you kind of do that?
You just got to ask yourself, how important is this really to you? Like, I don't think I think it just depends. You just have to weigh the pros and cons of what you guys are arguing about and decide if that's something you want to do. And sometimes it has to be in a split second. Sometimes it has to be quicker. You have to be quick to pick that battle, or quick to hold them, or quick to fold them. And it's tough. And not every time you're going to get it right. And you're going to have to be able to deal with that decision you made at the end of the day. Sometimes you won't be right. And you'll have to manage that. I think Analy will be able to better specifically communicate this one. Oh, she's ready.
No, sorry. I just like burped and making sure that I don't have any leftover. And sorry, TMI.
Okay, answer the question. Ew.
Is it healthy?
Yeah, I vouch for picking battles because, but to a certain extent, because there have been times when I've made the mistake of holding something in for too long, and we'll be in bed like 12 o'clock at night, and Francis goes, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, well,
it's funny that you asked because
literally, yeah.
Yep.
Which, yeah, we don't do that anymore. At least try not to do that anymore.
Okay.
But like picking your battles, like if Francis leaves his shoes somewhere, which he doesn't, it's usually me that leaves my shoes everywhere. But if he leaves the toilet seat up all the time, or like I like to leave my hair in the shower, if like it bothers you that much, say something about it. But if not, then put the seat down yourself and, you know, let it go. Like it's little stuff like that. And that's more of like when you're living together, but you know, you guys get what I'm trying to say, the little stuff. However, when you get to the big stuff, is where I kind of want to get into, because I was talking to a friend who...
What's her name? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I'm going to keep it private just in case they listen to this.
Yeah.
But
they will.
Yeah, so she was telling me about her and her boyfriend just like got into a fight, and they don't live together. They've been together for a while now, but he likes his space. Right? So he likes to just kind of like get time to himself, be away, doesn't want to be bothered. And she's very much, not that she wants to resolve it right there and then, but she almost needs that reassurance of he's not going to leave me.
Right.
So I told her, whenever you guys talk, you need to remind him that you understand that he needs his space, and that's totally fine. If it takes a day, if it takes 3 days, whatever how long he needs. However, he also needs to say, hey, I don't feel good. I want to just be alone, but I love you and I'll talk to you later. So communicating, having that type of communication, even when you guys are mad at each other, because there have been times where Francis and I fight, and I'm just like, I'm going to yell at him, and I'm going to be like, well, you know what? Well, you know, just get angry.
Right.
And in that split second, you have to be able to say to yourself, no, I can't get mad. Adding fire to the fire isn't going to help. Like, let me calm myself down, or let me try to not be angry because of the way he's talking to me. Or, yeah, I feel like I'm just kind of like blabbing out, but...
I think you nailed it.
No, yeah, I thought that was good. Yeah. There's the big things and the small things. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to recognize the small things and pick your battles and fold it, and then be able to recognize the big things and execute, and be able to properly communicate in a proper tone with those big things.
Yeah, tone is huge when you're arguing.
Yeah, I think...
It's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes.
Exactly. Language also goes with, and I've been saying this before and I've said it in other episodes, language, words, the way you say them, For example, like you were saying, if they leave their shoes wherever or whatever, or if Frankie went up to you and went, "Oh my God, how many times have I told you about the damn shoes?" Then of course you're gonna get upset, defensive. Yeah. But if you say, you know, I'm sorry, I know this is tiny, but I do not like when you leave your shoes there.
Right.
Then you'll be like, oh shoot, that really bugs them. You know, but then
that was
also
still too much, man.
Uh-huh.
To tone it down. I'm just
no, too much. Hey babe, I picked your shoes up, please. No, because I've been in those situations where I'm just kind of like, it's those little things that definitely add up, and you kind of have to nip it in the bud where you're just kind of like, ooh, I know this is small, it's just me, I'm sure, but this kind of upsets me when you do this. And if you say it like that, then it's like you're not attacking them, you're kind of making it about yourself. And it's like, and it's not even like mind tricks, it's being a good person, because the other person's not going to get like defensive and be like, well, you know what, you blah blah blah, you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. I think if you talk to your partner in a way where you're just talking to them, you can be mad, but that doesn't mean that you have to yell at them,
right,
or give them a sassy response. And we're all guilty of it. We've all done it. I've done it. Francis has done it. But really learning during an argument, or when you do have arguments, how to talk to each other, because there have been times where I'm sure people have broken up because, well, he talked to me this way or like, this is how he acted. If this is how he's going to act, then I don't want to be with him. Or
right,
if this is how she's going to be, then I'd rather just like let her go. Right. And I think that's why it's also so easy to leave a relationship when it gets hard, because people think, oh, relationship should always be, easy. Like it should be easy, but it's not. And that's another reason why Francis and I have been together for so long, is that we're both understanding of times when they do get really tough, and because we want to be with each other, but we're also like able to come together and legit sit down and be like, okay, why did we fight? This is what we fought about. What can we do better next time? And also attacking the problem together rather than attacking it like I'm attacking him or he's attacking me. Right. So doing it together rather than like separate. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense 100%. I mean, taking it on as a team. Do you have anything else on your list that you really want to touch on, or did we hit everything?
I think we got everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you hear like a little buzzing in the back, they're doing some vacuuming. Today's actually Labor Day. We are recording on Labor Day, and there's no one really at Local Hub, so they're doing their cleaning today. So please don't come at me. And there was a buzzing in the back. Yeah, but anyway, I really want to thank you guys for coming on and being
petty.
I know, super petty. I really want to thank you guys for coming on here and kind of being vulnerable for anyone else that kind of has been in your situation or is like military family and all that stuff. So
thank you for having us, Felix.
Thanks, Analy. Frankie, say thanks.
No, it was a pleasure. Thanks for inviting us to be on your show.
On ThisLife, a podcast by Mayorca Media. Where can do you guys have like socials where you want people to follow you? Or Analy, you started something pretty dope.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm a self-starter myself, and I think this is pretty fantastic. Analy, talk about your new venture.
Yeah, so I just started a picnic business. Woo! Super fun. Yeah.
Talk about it.
So it's as simple as it sounds. You book me and you choose a location. You get 2 hours to just enjoy a sweet picnic. So I go and I set it up for you. There's, charcuterie board, and then I clean it up after you leave. So it's super simple. Obviously it's nice and cute and Instagram worthy, and the styling is cute. So that's kind of my thing. I'm a pretty creative person, and I've always kind of wanted to find something that I can, I guess, like business or make money, if that's what you want to say, but do something that I love is basically what I'm trying to say. So yeah, my Instagram is picnicked. So it's PICNICKED _ picnicked.
Picnic at picnicked underscore.
Picnicked.
That's your
Yeah.
Instagram?
Yes.
I'm gonna vouch for it and say it's actually pretty dope. And I actually love that like it's pretty much like a restaurant experience. Not exactly a restaurant experience, but like you have the charcuterie. I love cheese boards. For those of you that don't know, charcuterie boards are actually cheese boards. And for someone to just like set it up, I show up, I eat my face off, leave. I don't have to clean anything up. That's dope. I love that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. One of my good friends just proposed to his girlfriend.
Ooh,
yeah. It was super cute. It's on my Instagram if you want to see the pictures.
there you go. At picnicked _ Where can people find you? At the naval base?
Pretty much. No, I've been taking a break from social media for a while. The Navy's just been overwhelming me a lot. But at BTS TV Media, no, I'm just
plug it. Dude.
No,
plug
if
they do some good work.
If this guy, if we can get 50 likes on this episode, maybe I'll come back on Instagram at Photos Day Frankie. Yeah, you can see all this.
So yeah, like
the
this
sweet pics that I have on there.
Like it on what, Instagram or
like this YouTube video?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch the YouTube video. Hopefully it's up on time because I'm really bad at that. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. This was This Life, a podcast by Mayorca Media. I'm your host, Felix Mayorca. You can find me at Mayorca Media. Yeah, show me love, baby. Peace.
Dude, I'm faded.
Are you really? Are you actually?
When they were talking, I was like, oh shit.
It's hot, dude.
Dude, no wonder he stopped talking. I was like, Francis. Oh my god.
I love it though.
I'm faded. You know that saying in there, right?